Be prepared. The time has finally come. You're about to witness one of the most important weeks of 2025, and most people won't take it seriously until it's too late. A lot of people have been waiting for this exact turning point without even realizing it. We've officially stepped into the first week of December, and the energy already feels different. There's also something else about this week that most people have no idea about. There are events approaching that will leave you mind blown, and they'll affect you in ways you can't even imagine. This week is going to be far more impactful than anyone expects. This first week of December wasn't made for everyone. It was made for the ones who feel spiritual energy. This is your moment. It's almost as if December is whispering, "Step forward, this is when things shift in your favor." Because sometimes the people who've been through the most are the ones December lifts first. And this week carries that exact kind of energy. The break after the struggle type of energy. If life has been rough lately, don't take it as a sign you're falling behind. Take it as proof you're standing right at the moment things begin to rise again. The final full moon of the entire year rises on December 4th. And this one isn't just any full moon. It's a supermoon, the last of the year. And whether you're ready or not, it's going to be the force that impacts you the most this week. Not because it's dramatic or chaotic, but because it brings a kind of clarity that doesn't wait for you to feel prepared. This supermoon marks the closing of a cycle you've been carrying since the very start of the year. And it does it in a way that feels undeniable. This isn't the kind of full moon that makes you emotional or nostalgic. It's the kind that exposes the truth you've been circling around for months. It reveals what's genuinely aligned with you and what has quietly expired. And the most surprising part, this clarity doesn't come gently. It comes in sudden understanding, in conversations that shift your perspective, in realizations that feel too sharp to ignore. You may notice something inside you feels more awake, more alert, like you're finally seeing things without the filters you used before. The last supermoon of the year always carries a message, but this one feels like a final verdict. The energy that decides what version of you enters the new year. One thing is clear. The last supermoon doesn't end a chapter. It exposes the one you were meant to begin. And when this energy combines with what comes next, things start to escalate quickly. This week is like spiritual truth under a magnifying glass. Nothing fake will survive it. On December 7th, the moon aligns with Jupiter, and this is where everything intensifies. Jupiter is the planet of growth, expansion, truth, and exposure. When it meets the moon, it doesn't just highlight your emotional world. It floods it with honesty, insight, and sudden clarity. This is the kind of alignment that pushes your life into its next stage, whether you feel fully ready or not. Jupiter doesn't play small. It doesn't allow you to shrink yourself or pretend you're okay with situations that aren't meant for you. If something in your life is built on shaky foundations, this energy will reveal the cracks. If something is real, aligned, and meant to continue, it will rise with undeniable strength. This alignment magnifies everything: your inner beliefs, your hidden doubts, your long-term desires, not to overwhelm you, but to make things unmistakably clear. Jupiter shines a spotlight on the parts of your life that have been waiting for movement. This is when sudden realizations hit, when you understand something about yourself that changes how you move forward, when the bigger picture finally makes sense. Expect moments this week where something clicks in your mind, a realization, a truth, an inner shift that feels too precise to ignore. Jupiter brings the kind of expansion that starts inside but quickly shows up in your outer world. And the strangest part? The more honest you are with yourself during this alignment, the more the universe responds. A lot of people are already noticing emotional shifts this week that feel strange, disconnected, or out of place. And the important thing to understand is that this isn't a collapse of your emotions, it's a clearing. This week carries the kind of energy that flushes out everything that's been stuck, stalled, or frozen in your system since earlier in the year. Because for months, so many people have been holding on to thoughts, feelings, or expectations that never had the space to fully process. And this is the week where that emotional backlog finally starts to move. The mood swings that people experience now aren't true fluctuations. They're releases. One moment you're energized and determined, and the next you're drained, reflective, or strangely quiet. It may feel inconsistent, but what's actually happening is your emotional body trying to match the speed of the truth rising within you. There's no depression here, no collapse. It's the emotional dust shaking off after months of stillness. This collective shift will show up in small but noticeable ways, waves of tiredness that come out of nowhere, bursts of restlessness that make you feel like something is about to happen, moments where time behaves oddly, too fast 1 minute, too slow the next. This is what it feels like when the inner world reorganizes itself faster than you can mentally interpret. Your mind doesn't register it yet, but your body does. This week has the energy of someone trying to catch their breath after holding it for far too long. There's a pressure building, but it isn't negative pressure. It's the kind that pushes you toward a release you didn't even know you needed. Think of it like the emotional version of finally screaming underwater. The moment that releases everything you've been swallowing in silence. And the reason this is happening is simple. The collective field is purging. Not trauma, not wounds, but the emotional static that forms when you outgrow something but haven't fully stepped into the next version of yourself. These mood shifts are your system recalibrating to the truth that's trying to surface. People don't realize this, but when the collective enters a week like this, sensitivity rises. Not because you're breaking down, but because you're finally aligned with the deeper movement happening beneath the surface. It's the moment when the emotional current speeds up and your body senses the change before your mind can explain it. The body reacts to truth before the mind is ready to admit it. And as this emotional wave continues, something even bigger begins to form right behind it. Something that sets the tone for your entire next chapter. Most people think the new year begins in January, when the calendar switches over and everyone suddenly decides it's time to start fresh. But spiritually, energetically, and intuitively, the new year begins right now, in the first week of December. This is the real threshold. This is the moment where the themes of the coming year reveal themselves, not in big dramatic events, but in subtle, inner shifts that only the spiritually attuned will notice. This week carries the unmistakable energy of a beginning disguised as an ending. The final full moon of the year closes one cycle, and the Moon-Jupiter alignment opens the next. And in between those two events is the exact window where 2026 quietly announces itself. You may feel it through sudden inspiration, a burst of clarity, a shift in priorities, a new desire forming out of nowhere, or a sense that something in your life is about to expand in ways you can't predict yet. Even if you don't act on anything right now, the intentions, ideas, and impulses that rise within you this week are not random. They're messages. They're signals from the deeper layers of your path showing you what you're ready for next. You're not imagining it if you suddenly feel like you're being pointed toward a new direction, or if old goals suddenly lose their spark, or if a new vision keeps trying to get your attention. This is how spiritual alignment speaks. This week acts like the trailer of your next evolution, the early preview of what's going to take center stage in 2026. And just like a trailer, you don't get the whole story yet. You get glimpses, flashes, moments that feel too meaningful to ignore. Something in you shifts by a few degrees, and those few degrees change the entire direction you're heading in. You might find that you're drawn to different types of people, different environments, different conversations. You might feel an urge to prepare for something bigger, even if you don't know what it is. You might feel a sense of anticipation that has no clear cause, as if the future is actively leaning toward you. That's not coincidence. That's alignment activating early. And the thing about this week is that it doesn't ask you for action. It asks for awareness. Pay attention to the thoughts that keep returning, the ideas that feel too persistent to ignore, the desires that feel stronger than they did even a month ago. These are the seeds of 2026 being planted long before the calendar turns. What's happening now isn't just preparation, it's confirmation. Confirmation that your path is shifting. Confirmation that your energy is upgrading. Confirmation that next year's chapter has already begun writing itself. Because once this week is over, the momentum of 2026 won't be subtle anymore. It becomes obvious and impossible to deny. This week, a lot of people are going to feel more sensitive than usual. This is a different kind of sensitivity, the kind that feels like your entire internal system is suddenly operating at a higher resolution. Sounds feel sharper. Other people's emotions feel clearer. Even the slightest energetic shifts in a room feel more noticeable than they ever have before. And while some people might interpret this as being overwhelmed, the truth is that your perception is upgrading, not collapsing. You're not losing stability, you're gaining precision. The veil is thin, and because of that, your awareness is naturally stretching. You may find yourself reading situations in seconds, picking up on tiny details that normally slip past you, or sensing honesty and dishonesty before anyone says a word. It's not hypersensitivity, it's heightened discernment. The world hasn't gotten louder, you've simply become more attuned to what was always there. You're not breaking down, you're tuning in. This week acts like a spiritual audio engineer, fine-tuning your frequency. It's sharpening your instincts, widening your perceptive range, and making you aware of the emotional currents beneath the surface of your experiences. This is why certain environments might suddenly feel draining, or why some people suddenly feel harder to be around. You're sensing the truth of places and people without filters or explanations. For those who are already sensitive, intuitive, or spiritually aware, this week won't feel random. It will feel like recognition, like something inside you is finally syncing with the pace of the energy around you. And this is where the real gift lies. The more sensitive you feel, the more accurately you can navigate what's coming next. Instead of being confused by your reactions, pay attention to them. Your body will respond before your mind interprets. Your intuition will speak before your logic catches up. This is not about fragility, it's about alignment. Your sensitivity this week is a guidance system, pointing you toward what's meant for you and steering you away from anything that quietly drains your spirit. When you understand that, You stop trying to numb the sensations and instead start listening to what they're revealing. As the week unfolds, something unusual begins to happen. Your attention narrows, almost instinctively, toward one specific idea, one goal, one truth, or one direction you can't stop thinking about. And it won't feel like a random idea or a passing interest. It will feel like a gravitational pull. You might not be able to explain why you're drawn to it, why it keeps resurfacing, or why it suddenly feels urgent. But that's exactly how you'll know it's real. This pull can show up in many forms. Maybe it's a decision you've been avoiding that suddenly feels clear. Maybe it's a dream you let go of years ago that suddenly lights up again in your mind. Maybe it's a creative spark, a person you feel compelled to reconnect with, a path you feel pressured to explore, or even a truth about yourself that finally demands your attention. It doesn't matter what form it takes. What matters is the intensity. The feeling that this one thing wasn't chosen by you. It chose you. This pull is not a distraction. It's not impulsive energy. It's not your mind being dramatic. It's your path, the one that has been waiting for this exact alignment, finally revealing itself. This week's Moon and Jupiter energies combine to highlight the single direction in your life that carries the most potential, the greatest growth, and the deepest meaning. If something keeps calling you this week, answer. That's not fantasy, that's alignment. This is why ignoring the pull will feel harder than following it. The same way a compass needle snaps toward true north, your energy instinctively turns toward what's meant for you. Even if it doesn't make logical sense yet, trust the direction your awareness keeps returning to. The repetition is a message. The persistence is guidance. The intensity is confirmation. And here's what makes this so important. The one thing you're being pulled toward this week is likely the opening chapter of a much larger shift coming in 2026. This is the seed. This is the beginning of something that will grow, evolve, and shape the next version of you. It doesn't require dramatic action right now, just awareness, acknowledgement, and honesty with yourself. Because once you follow that pull, even a little, the next doors will open on their own. The first week of December activates intuition in a way that feels different from anything you've experienced in recent months. It's not just a gut feeling anymore, it's a full-body awareness that starts connecting pieces of your life with surprising accuracy. You might notice that you're understanding situations faster, predicting outcomes before they unfold, and picking up on people's true motives without needing to hear a single word. It's as if the moon is lifting a layer of fog that's been sitting over your perception all year. This week sharpens pattern recognition. Suddenly, you begin seeing the links between events. Why something had to end, why someone reappeared, why a decision you postponed now feels urgent. What felt random before now feels interconnected. And the more these dots connect, the more your intuition grows in confidence. This is the kind of clarity that doesn't need proof. It's the kind that arrives with certainty. Interactions will feel different too. You'll sense tones, micro-expressions, hesitation, and emotion underneath the surface of conversations. People's intentions become clearer, even the intentions they're trying to hide from themselves. This isn't you becoming suspicious, it's you finally noticing what's been there the whole time. You may realize that someone who seemed supportive was subtly draining you, or that someone you doubted actually had your best interest at heart. The moon's influence makes these truths easier to read and harder to ignore. This heightened intuition also creates a strange feeling that you're ahead of things. You might feel a shift coming in a relationship, or sense that a decision is about to be made, long before anything actually happens. Life stops surprising you, not because the world slows down, but because you speed up internally. You start processing reality with a depth that most people can't access this week. This is why you may find yourself craving solitude or quiet environments. Your mind isn't overwhelmed, it's simply running deeper. You're listening to signals that most people are too distracted to notice. This is the week where your inner compass becomes more accurate than any external advice you're receiving. Your intuition isn't louder this week, it's clearer. And the more you trust it, the more you'll notice that your life begins to move in the direction you've been waiting for all year. As your intuition grows and your energy shifts this week, don't be surprised if people around you start reacting differently. Some may seem confused by your silence. Others may act distant without explaining why. You may even notice that people who used to understand you suddenly feel out of sync. This isn't a social problem. It's an energetic symptom of your evolution. When your inner world changes faster than your outer world, people who are aligned with your previous version may not be able to read you the same way. They pick up on your shift, even subconsciously, and it creates a subtle tension they don't know how to articulate. You might appear more detached, more focused, or more certain, and not everyone knows how to handle that. But their confusion is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're moving ahead of the collective pace. Growth always creates a distance before it creates alignment. You're stepping into new thoughts, forming new visions, and leaving behind behaviors that once kept you grounded in old patterns. Not everyone is ready for that shift, especially those who depend on the familiar version of you. This is why you may feel misunderstood or misread this week, even if you're not doing anything differently. Your energy is simply expanding faster than others can adjust to. What you're experiencing is not isolation. It's transition. The kind of transition where your inner clarity becomes stronger than external approval. You don't feel the need to explain yourself as much. You don't always have the desire to show up for every conversation. You're more selective, more observant, more intentional. And that change can make others uncomfortable, not because they dislike you, but because they don't recognize this new level of consciousness you're stepping into. This is the part of growth that feels lonely, but it's also the part that confirms you're evolving. You're not meant to make sense to everyone while you're rising into a new version of yourself. Alignment often comes later, once the people who resonate with your growth step into your orbit, and the ones who can't keep up naturally drift out. You weren't meant to be understood during your becoming, and once you accept that, the confusion you're seeing from others stops feeling like rejection and starts feeling like evidence that you're moving exactly where you're meant to go. The impossible things you're daydreaming about, they're not random. This week, especially between December 3rd and 6th, the moon activates a part of your mind that doesn't usually speak so boldly. You may catch yourself imagining scenarios that feel too big, too far, or too strange to be realistic. Yet something inside you can't shake them off. These moments hit unexpectedly, during a walk, while scrolling your phone, in the middle of a conversation, as if your mind keeps slipping into a version of reality you haven't stepped into yet. This isn't an overactive imagination. This is what it looks like when the moon pulls possibilities closer. taking dreams that were once faint and placing them directly in your line of awareness. You might notice that these visions carry a different texture than usual daydreams. They're sharper, more emotionally charged, more magnetic. They feel like a memory from the future, something you haven't lived yet, but somehow already recognize. During this week, the subconscious mind becomes extremely active, and that's not just some vague spiritual explanation. The mind is processing incoming information faster than the conscious mind can interpret, and the moon makes that internal activity visible through flashes of insight. You may find yourself suddenly understanding what you truly want, or realizing that a dream you dismissed years ago still holds a pulse. These insights arrive quietly, but they carry weight, the kind that lingers. For some people, this shows up through vivid dreams at night. Not symbolic or confusing dreams, but ones that feel eerily connected to their waking life. A solution to a problem might appear in a dream. A forgotten desire might resurface. A person or idea you haven't thought about in ages may re-enter your mind with sudden clarity. This is the moon, reorganizing your internal landscape, bringing hidden timelines into visibility so you can actually see the paths available to you. The beauty of this week is that it doesn't just inspire, it enables. When the moon illuminates possibility, manifestation becomes easier because your energy aligns with what you can finally envision clearly. You might feel a new sort of determination forming, almost like your heart and mind are finally agreeing on the same direction. Even small steps this week can create a ripple you'll feel in the months ahead, because your intention carries more momentum now than at any point in the last few weeks. People underestimate how powerful clarity is. Manifestation isn't about wanting, it's about seeing. When you see a path as real, your choices begin adjusting themselves without effort. Your energy shifts where it invests itself. Your intuition starts pulling you forward. That's the magic of this week. This isn't fantasy. This isn't wishful thinking. This is alignment beginning in the imagination, the place where all realities are born. And the moon is giving you access to those inner blueprints so you stop dreaming in shadows and start dreaming in full color. If everything goes off schedule this week, you're being realigned, not punished. Disruptions may show up as delays, cancellations, last-minute changes, or just that strange feeling that your usual rhythm is off. But this isn't chaos, it's correction. The moon's influence this week is here to interrupt your patterns on purpose. Most people live in mental loops, emotional cycles, and rigid routines that don't reflect who they are anymore. They stay busy, not because they're aligned, but because they're avoiding stillness. And this week, the moon is pulling the plug on that autopilot. When things stop flowing the way you expect, it's because something deeper is asking to be seen. The gaps in your schedule aren't empty, they're meaningful. That cancelled plan, that unexpected free hour, those are not accidents, they're invitations to notice what you usually overlook. The universe is making room, not taking things away. You're being nudged to tune in instead of just keeping up. This is alignment disguised as inconvenience, and it's asking you to stop forcing what no longer fits. Let the routine fall apart a little, because something more authentic is trying to break through. Ask yourself honestly, what if the schedule falling apart is the schedule finally working? Once you see it this way, the tension disappears, and what's left is clarity. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.